वीज़ा revocation, हम समझते हैं कई दफ़ा कि okay, I have a visa in my passport. Good, right? Well, not necessarily, because visa is a permission. It's not guaranteed. So if a visa is stamped in your passport, it allows you to knock at the door and say, can I come in? आप आ सकते हैं, but there are certain requirements because you have to abide by the terms and conditions of that very visa. आप ये नहीं कह सकते क्योंकि I have a visa, I'll do whatever I like, because that visa is for a certain reason. That visa is issued for, let's say you're a student, it allows you to study only. You're an investor, it allows you to invest in your own business only. H1B, you're allowed to work for that very employer, not that you can go and work anywhere. So the visa is a specific permission to work based on the terms and conditions of that very visa. If we violate those, that's where problems occur. Because many a times I've seen people, what they do is they do not abide strictly by the terms and conditions of that visa. They deviate from that, and what happens is next time when they do a change of status, they do an adjustment of status, they cannot do that because, see, all these terms, what do they say? Status, right? Adjustment of status, extension of status. So all these things go out because you don't have had that status. At the same time, there is something called a transfer. So you transfer from one status to the other. Again, that is applicable if you are maintaining your status. If you don't maintain, that is a problem you will have. There is a provision called nunc pro tunc. That means go back in time and give me. So if you realize you have been out of status for a particular reason, those were circumstances which were beyond your control, so you can. What you can do is you can go to the government and say, instead of me being in status right now, I was not in status for the past few months. So please, let me be in status. But what the government is saying is, show us proof that you intentionally did not do that. These were circumstances beyond your control. And so government, to a certain extent, does understand that things do not go as planned. Things change. And that's our job, to look into it and to devise the best strategy. There is one more thing which is very important. It's called prudential revocation, which means you have a visa, it's stamped in your passport, you are in the US, and after you are in the US, your embassy or the consulate that issued you the visa has received fresh information. What is that information? That circumstances were not correct when your visa was issued. There was something which they came to know later on. What do is they revoke. It's called a prudential revocation. It's a bit different because that is, and they normally send you an email. They don't do it out of the blue where you don't even know what happened. So what they do is they revoke your visa, but then at the same time they inform you that, look, your visa is revoked, and what is the effect? And it's clearly laid out in that email. If you continue to remain in the US, no worries. It's still working on the same level. However, if you go outside the US, then that stamped sticker, which is called the visa, is no longer valid. So that's the difference between having a visa revoked, which has no value whatsoever, or a prudential revocation. क्योंकि if it's revoked, that means it never even existed. आप यहाँ हैं भी तो आप कहते हैं कि जी I'm changing my status. वो कहते हैं sorry, it's the terminology called fruit of a poisonous tree. कि अगर वो चीज़ ab initio शुरू से ही ख़राब थी तो आइंदा वो कोई फ़ायदा दे ही नहीं सकती. So that's what has to be seen. कि अगर आपका वीज़ा ही शुरू से था ही नहीं, you can't do anything else. And at the same time, you say that, okay, the visa was good at the time it was issued. Later on it was revoked. Now it's perfectly fine. I can still be in the US. I can change my status. I can extend my status. I can adjust my status, but even get a green card. But if I go out, then I cannot use the same one. So understanding कि जी visa क्या होता है, visa को maintain नहीं किया जाता. It's always the status that is maintained because the visa is stamped on your passport. But when you come to the US, based on that visa, you're allowed to stay in the US for a particular period. अब ये जो stay है US के अंदर, that is called status. और वो स्टेटस आपको हर वक्त मेंटेन करना होता है, बिकॉज इफ़ यू डोंट मेंटेन दैट, वेल as we see there are serious consequences. And पहले ये होता था कि if you were out of status you would remain out of status, nobody would be concerned to that extent. Right now the moment you fall out of status, government issues a biometrics notice कि जी आए, get your fingerprints done, और उसके ऊपर लिखा होता है NTA, notice to appear. This biometrics notice is in lieu or is in consequence of you having to come before the court and now present your case as to what's going on. So it's bad. You got to be mindful of your status and don't let it pass through very easily, because that is one thing you need to focus on the most. The utmost thing which you can always be mindful, because that's up to you. You don't have to depend on anyone else, is to maintain your status. And if push comes to shove, things are bad, then you have to look at professional advice. I always recommend, and it's for your own benefit, talk to a licensed attorney. Don't discuss with any paralegal, notarios, because first of all, they're not qualified. So if you do something like that, things go south, you cannot take advantage of the fact that, you know what, I had a professional attorney, I had a law firm, they were supposed to know what they were doing. Well, you had a notario and there are false things. So be mindful of your status, be mindful of the things that you're doing, and protect your own self from people who are not there to help you. So this was regarding the visa, the revocation, and the prudential revocation. Thank you for listening, and do feel to spread the word around amongst your friends. Have a good one. Bye for now.
Your attorney, your immigration ally.